things are generally good. And those of you out there that are experts at it can correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I'm 2 years in Connecticut. But I had a customer here, and actually in Windsor Locks, been trying to buy his building. It's a body shop. Been trying to buy his building for 5 years. He's been in the building for 20, and he's already $100,000 into environmental attorneys. And I think the site's clean. So that I've seen that on numerous occasions. It seems to come up a lot.
I've also experienced it on the auto body side too. So
I recently can I give one more example? Yeah. We had a customer trying to buy a business in a leased building. It was not buying any real estate whatsoever, but it was determined to be subject to the Transfer Act, even though there was no real estate going through. And we didn't expect that. It cost a lot in legal fees and will cost a lot over the next couple of years to do all the testing and stuff. And again, it's a multi-tenant building, so I'm not even sure how that works. It's office retail. But hopefully over the near term, someone could take a look at that at the Connecticut government and just review it to make sure it's reasonable for businesses.
Just to hit on to, you mentioned, basically processes, and one of the things what I've seen when you're starting is you just want to get this thing out there, right? So SOPs are very important on being able, just having your standard operating procedure set in stone, and sometimes I see people just jumping over that, and that's just one of those things you really want to have set in stone. It goes back to culture and all those things. And you do have to be a generalist, and beyond having some idea of insurance. I mean, I just remember I had to learn legal, HR, operations, and I came from ops, so that one I actually knew. Really, sales and marketing, and overall as the business owner, as running the organization, because at first you don't have really the resources to have. I mean, I always say you do have to spend some money. You have to get a lawyer, and you should have some type of accounting. But as you grow, you don't always want to send those things out, so you have to have a general knowledge of pretty much everything. We were lucky that we were blessed to be able to grow and be able to hire people to do these things, but at the same time, you do need to know what they do to a certain extent. I'm even looking at years being in security. There are segments of the security industry that I didn't know that well. To me, loss prevention at one point was really a person in a suit standing at a door saying hello, goodbye, just keeping an eye on things. Well, loss prevention overall in certain areas like your Macy's or Targets or H&M's and such are plainclothes folks looking for shoplifters and then stopping them after they've stolen. So I did not know that piece of business, which I had to learn. A challenge of it is not all clients are good clients. And I've spoken with a number of my folks that I've worked with. Sometimes we sit down and say, you have to look at your client base. And some people are, I just want to have clients. And that's great. If you want to drive revenue, that's fantastic if you're looking to sell your business. But if you're looking at it based on profit and what you're really expecting to get that, sometimes a client that you're breaking even on this client, it's not worth it. And we've had, over my experience, a number of clients that we had to take a look at and say, you know what? It's great that we have them on our list and we can say we do so-and-so, but what are they really providing us? We're breaking even, and again, my business overtime is like, that's the deal. I mean, there's always overtime. So even if you were breaking even on paper, once you calculate overtime in, you're losing money. You don't want those clients, and you have to be able to look at that sheet and just see what the numbers are to say, you know what, is this worth my time, effort? Because other things obviously go into that cost, your staff time, all of those things. And I can think of a handful of clients that we were doing that just weren't giving us bang for the buck. So one of the things that I try to focus on when that challenge comes up is, are you really profiting off of this client? And if you're not, you have to pull the Band-Aid. And one of my quick suggestions is give them a rate increase. Because if you decided you're going to get rid of if you decide it's not working out, it doesn't hurt to throw a rate increase at them. If they bite on it, fantastic. You can keep them, you move forward. If not, you're going to get rid of them anyway. It's a win-win. So that's just sort of one of those challenges that, with a number of folks that I've worked with, is just digging down to see what really, clients don't always equate to profitability, and just really getting a business owner to start thinking that way instead of, I just got to bring everybody in, right?
Or for that matter, a line too. Like I recently referred something over to one of your colleagues because it's in a different area, where he's struggling. He's an established business and he's struggling, so he needs some help. And right away he's like, "Well, I was thinking about getting rid of this line." And I said, "Well, why did you select that line?" He goes, "Well, I just figured because that was the line I added after this other line." So really, that's not always the right decision. So now, we're kind of trying to help him really look at the numbers and see, is that the line you want to drop, or is it still worth keeping that line? Again, it could have something to do with a couple of the clients that he has, selling that line, where maybe, again, he doesn't need those clients anymore. So.
And that's also a drive into getting the mindset of you do have to pivot at some point. I mean,
Right.
I have a client that has two different lines per se,
Right.
and one is doing incredibly well, the other one not so much. But this client is focused on the other one, and I say, no, put your time and resource. This one's making money. This one is hot. You can come back to, don't get rid of it, but you can. But it's just sometimes you can't break. As that business owner, you have to be able to recognize that sometimes you have to pivot, and because this one's going. So you put the resources and time in this to grow it, and then you can come back to this, and at that point we can really dig down to see what the problem is. But that's that mindset of
Right.
when you're set on one thing as running an organization, you have to be willing to recalibrate.
Right, because the answer is not always more financing, and that's where it comes in. Right away people say, "Oh, I need more financing because I need money to run this division of my company," or things like that. And that's not always the solution. You don't want to put people so deep into debt that their business is going to fail. I mean, we want them to succeed. We don't want them to fail. So that's where we kind of all work together, to get these businesses to be, successful if they're established, and also when they're just starting, to get them to be successful and get them to be bankable. When they're not bankable in those first couple of years, we want to get them to be bankable, and then we want to get them over, to Michael and have the bank take over the financing. So that way we can take that money again and put it back into the community. So that's why we look to try to do, even though we give them longer terms, but it's great when it's short term because we can get that money back into the community if we get them over to the bank. So that's part of our goal, is get them to be bankable. So.
Excellent. We just have a few minutes more, and before I ask another question, is there any other questions that anybody's got on their minds? The idea that somebody comes from, we talked a lot about the inception or the beginning of seeking financing and getting going. But Chris, if you could, and you could use Stony Creek as an example, an example of somebody that has had success and then they come back and then they borrow more and have additional success and building upon that.
Sure. I know a little bit about Stony Creek. One of my colleagues is working on Stony Creek Brewery. But again, that's somebody we did the financing for years ago, got them started, as well as some other breweries in Connecticut as well. And now they're coming back because they need to expand. So there's a perfect example of when you do come back, it's justified, to do this expansion. So again, unfortunately, I'm not directly working on the loans. So
but it can be exponential. Yeah. You can. It's not like a one-time.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we do repeat financing for multiple people. I mean, I saw somebody actually last week who is borrowing just a small $15,000 for a piece of equipment, which is going to speed up his production, and that's why he's adding this piece of equipment. And while he was filling out all his paperwork with me, he said, can I pay this off early? And I said, yeah, absolutely. He has a 5-year term. I said, yeah, there's no fee for paying it off early and things like that. And he's like, okay, so if I do that, but can I get another loan in like 15 years? I said, sure, if you qualify. Like he's already thinking about the next piece of equipment, with his financing. So absolutely, we do a lot of repeat business as well.
Great.
For establishment.
So Christine, is your company, is that a private company that you are?
We're actually a nonprofit corporation.
Oh.
Yeah, so we are a nonprofit.
And on that nonprofit side, and the name community is in the name,
Yes.
And you mentioned about putting money back into the community and, you know, and having people be financially successful and paying off their loans to
Right,
then allow.
creating jobs, things, right.
So talk just a brief moment about that mission part of CIC.
Yeah. We've been around for over 40 years as a nonprofit corporation. We do have a board of directors. We do get money from different sources. We get money from multiple grants per year that we apply for. And then we take that money and we get it into the communities. There's even some programs where, for example, like job creation programs, where you can borrow the money and part of the note will be forgivable as long as you create whatever the job requirement is in there. So, for example, I have one who's actually just about ready, and she's going to have a $40,000 is going to be forgivable on her financing because of creating the jobs that was part of the program that she selected. Again, we talked a lot about 504 and Community Advantage and microloan program, but there's a lot of other little grant programs and other things that we have in certain areas of the state, which changes quite frequently, where there's economic development money that we can get out there. There's money that's geared just for manufacturing companies. There's money geared, so there's all different buckets we have to work with. But so that's basically what we do. We try to find the right bucket and the right, whatever's right for the, for the prospective borrower too. It's very important to us.
So let's just go down the line at the end, and now just let everybody know, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to find out more about, in this case, CIC, and get a hold of you directly?
Yeah, you can actually go to our website. All of our contact information is there. I did bring some cards if you want. If you wanted to send me an email if you needed any additional information, I'll be more than happy to get it to you. So, but it's Community Investment Corporation. You just Google us, we'll come up. So.
Same with us. Our website is www.ctsbdc.com. My contact information. I have cards also that I can give out. But yeah, if you would go to the tab for our team, I come up with my information up there.
Good. I'm sure you know how to find Windsor Federal. We're in most of the communities around here. My desk is right there in the center of Suffield. My kids are about a mile from there, and I live 2 miles down the road, so you're probably going to find me over there most days.
JSWmediainc.com. I have a few cards on me. Get in touch anytime.
I'd like to thank the panel. If you join me in thanking them. Our next session is March 19th. It's at 5:30 at night, 5:30 to 7. It's going to be at the Sunset Tavern at the Suffield Country Club, and the topic is going to be marketing for the small business. One of our panelists is actually with us today, Leslie Marks, and she's with
My Advertising Works.
My Advertising Works. She's going to be one of our panelists, and then the following month, we're going to have a third one at the Copper Hill Tavern on April 16th, also 5:30 to 7, and that is focused on hiring, which we've talked about a little bit today, and also technology for the small business. And we've got a robust panel for that as well. So thanks, everybody, for coming and your attention. And Paul?
I just want to mention thanks to Windsor Federal Savings for sponsoring the whole program. But for the next two programs, they're in the evening, not in the morning.
That's right, the next
There will
two.
be hors d'oeuvres served at no cost. There'll be a cash card. Thank you, Windsor Federal. We appreciate it.
That's right. Our sponsor for the whole series, Windsor Federal.